And here we go with half hour late. Sorry about that. So hopefully this will eventually yield a better experience than it is right now. But yeah, it's been pretty bad. Maybe I can go like this. Yeah. Okay. That probably feels the most comfortable. Okay. So. I think there was a miscommunication with the time that we were going to leave because I forgot to update the syllabus, but I did say in class, 3 weeks ago now, that we were going to leave at about 9:30. So that's when we ended up leaving. We actually didn't leave till 10 because we're waiting around for people, but nobody came except for Dan here. So it was me and Dan and Frank that went on the field trip. And that's okay because we're actually gonna talk about processing a lot of the data today, and we did have some field experiences where you've seen a lot of what we did, but we did two things when we were out there. And we collected drone data like we've done before, mapping drone data. So this is the data that we collected. I'm actually running before you can even correct it. You actually need to run the first step. So I'm running the first step. It should be fine pretty soon. So you see that it's processing through. And each one of these little individual ones, I think we've covered this, are photographs. So if I click on one of these guys, I can see which photograph it was. Okay. All right, so you can see the variability there, the imagery that shows up. And I do have a final product to show you later. Because we won't actually be able to make this thing run all the way through today, but what we're going to do, what our goal today is to get this data geometrically corrected. So in remote sensing research, there are two types of correction that should be applied to varying degrees. Okay, they don't, depending on what your project is, there may be a different amount of geometric correction or what we call radiometric correction that needs to be done on an image before you can further process it. Okay, so today we're going to talk about geometric correction or sometimes georeferencing, but it's a little bit further than just georeferencing. Okay, we're actually going to tie it down. So the other thing that happened while we were up here this day is that Frank, Dr. Heitmuller down in the geology department, or the geology program now, he went and he took some ground control measurements. Okay. I should have brought in one of the ground control targets. I think if I click one of these guys over here, let's see. Yep, I can see one. Can you see it? Just kidding. It's really hard to see. But if I make this bigger, I still can't see it very well. But this little guy right here, that's not a natural thing. Okay? This little mark right here is a piece of plywood that's a little over a foot by a foot where I spray painted two black triangles that meet in a fairly precise location. Okay, so we placed these what we call targets. We reviewed that a little bit last week, all throughout the image. There's actually another one right here. You can see it a little bit better. Okay, this is image 982, and I should put a link to all the data, and I'll do that. Okay, so you could see that. So we're going to use Frank's high accuracy GPS locations of each of these ground control targets in order to adjust where this data is in space. Okay, both in the X and the Y and the Z. So the X, Y, Z position will help us to come up with a better model. It'll force those in because there is a GPS in the receiver, and in the drone, and it can actually use that to come up with a pretty good estimate of where it's going to be. We did that I guess now it's been about 4 weeks ago, in class, right? And in fact, you can see these points right here. The reason why it even knows those points exist is because of the onboard GPS receiver. But the onboard GPS receiver isn't going to get a centimeter level accuracy. All right. Remind me, I need to give you back your memory card. Yeah, I was going to give it back last Thursday, but I forgot. So Dan saved us too, because I came straight from the Cayman Islands, and I was a little. I got all the batteries charged, and I thought I did everything. I had the iPad charged, everything was working well, but I forgot the memory cards, because all my memory cards were being used in other projects, and so I forgot my memory cards. But Dan brought our memory cards. So anyway, I copied the memory cards onto here. Let me show you the raw data here. So I went to I copied them right here into UAV course by UP Air. So here's the first four folders. Here are the raw data, the way that it came off of the sensor. You had a few pictures of that columns that I deleted because it doesn't really pertain. I didn't delete them off of your card. I just deleted them off of here. So like this is the very first picture that I just took when we booted up the drone. But then the drone went and collected this sort of data here. I think we could. No, I don't see a target in that one. But yeah, these were the 400 feet data set. So we flew once at 400 feet. We flew the whole area, and then we flew it at 250 feet. And so I had to find out where that break occurred. So I also took a few oblique shots. Let me show you those. Actually, since y'all weren't there, let's just start with. So if you want to ever go and see this, you can log in on my Pix4D account. I'm just going to go ahead and open that up so you can see what happened here. By the way, Pix4D just switched. It used to be unlimited. You could do as many projects as you want. Now I'm only going to get 120 projects a year. So let me know if you're going to process something on the cloud before you process it. You can process on the desktop all you want, right? So you can process this machine, that machine, that machine, and the machine behind it all have Pix4D desktop. You can process on those as many times as you want. But if you're going to process a cloud project, let me know before you do it, because we only get 120 a year now. It used to be unlimited. Anyway, that was just as of April 9th. So we should have processed more projects before April 9th. So this is the data that we just flew last Wednesday. So I'm going to look at this in 3D to kind of show you what I'm talking about. So I went ahead and processed the whole thing already, but this is not geometrically corrected, okay, to high accuracy. It's just using the location of the drone's GPS itself, okay. But you can see there's this cut bank, right? See that cut bank? So we were really interested in seeing how this is changing over time. We took some data back in 2016, and our goal, perhaps we can even do this in this class eventually, is to compare 2016 to 2019 to see how much this cut bank is going on. And then Frank, it's also, I was kind of skeptical. Frank's really interested in seeing if the drone can actually infer anything about the channel itself. And surprisingly, we took a few profiles here, and you can actually see some variability that makes sense. So we need to check to see if it actually really is real. But you can see some variability where, which side would be deeper, by the way? What do you think in this? The far side? Yeah, the cut bank side. Yeah, exactly. That side would be deeper than this side over here. And so, you know, if we look at this. If we look at this back in 2D and go to the I don't know how to get rid of the annotation that I already have. Select and modify. Let's look at all these guys. Can I just... Anyway, I don't know how to make new ones. Right down. Okay. I'm just going to click a new one for now. But this is so this is the measurement of that line that I just made, and I can hit Generate Elevation Profile. And in doing so, now as I move along, I can see where I was. So this is trees, and then this is the cut bank itself. You see how the deepest location is the furthest, and then it goes up, and then there is this like section of the channel that in the middle where we noticed. You can actually see it in the imagery here. See how see how it goes up a little bit. I don't know if it goes up that much, but it does go up a little bit. And then we go all the way over here, and it's right here before we hit the bank again. So if this is right, that should be almost sticking out of the water right there. And even if we do, let's just say right from bank to bank, and generate the profile, you can see that's the deepest section right there, right by the cut bank, and then it goes up. And here it doesn't go up quite as much. It doesn't go up, and then here we're back on the opposite bank. The scale this way and that way aren't the same. That's just the default, the way it has Pix4D has it set up. So Frank's really interested to see if this profile is even close to being accurate. So he took a number of not GCPs. He called them GCPs, but he took a number of reference points in the channel. So what we're going to do today, two-step process. Well, actually, we'll do the other one. We'll do the other one as part of the analysis. But what we're going to do overall is first we're going to tie this down to be true coordinates that are corrected to 1 to 3 centimeters. Then once we have that, we're going to use the other points to determine how accurate it is at finding the ground. And then what's really interesting is seeing if we can get underwater here. That would be a unique finding. And then also to see how well we can study how this cut bank is deteriorating. And it is deteriorating. Frank set some pipes in the side of the wall 3 years ago, and some of them have totally eroded. Okay. All right. That was a long story to say that that several of these images. So that's all there. There we go. Several of these images, I took them at an oblique angle. See how it's an oblique angle? So that it could get not just straight down, but also looking at the side, so that it can get some more information about the shape of this cut bank, because it's hard to see straight down. You can't see it very well. And so we really wanted to be able to model that better. If you want to model the sides of things, you do have to take some oblique pictures. If you're not really concerned about the sides of things, or if your terrain is really undulating, you don't have to take as many of these type of shots. Okay, but yeah, we took about 40 or 50 of those shots. See, I just went through here. The cut bank ends here, and then the sandbar picks up. I think we placed one of our ground control points here. It does look like he moved it and like put it. Maybe he felt like, oh, maybe they needed that, and so he put it back, because it doesn't even appear in lots of the images. So hopefully we got some where it appears. But yeah, I put it about right there. So anyway, but that's just one ground control point. All right. Maybe that wasn't the case. Maybe it's just too small to see. But you know, you can see this one right here. All right. Okay, so what I did was I sorted. First thing I did that I always like to do when I complete a project, I'm about to sneeze. Nope, guess not. Is to sort my data, and so I sorted it into 200, and then 400, and then the obliques. So I put in all of the images from the 250 feet missions. And by the way, it took multiple missions. It basically took four batteries. So what I should say, at 250 feet to get all the data. And then did it only take one? I forgot at 400 feet. I think it did. I think it took two at 400 feet. And then it actually took like 1.5. That's what it was, 1.5. And then I flew all the obliques on the way back. And I just kind of eyeballed them. I didn't fly a mission to get those side views. Okay. And I threw all those into the project just like we did last week. And if I zoom in here, you could see where these were all the obliques. So if I click this one, you could see that it was an oblique. Whereas if I click this one, you could see that was a straight down image. So, and then once this goes into the ray cloud, we'll be able to see the height at which we were. But we were about 250 for both the obliques and the straight down images. So let's see. Maybe that's it. I don't know. Well, we'll find out when we go to correct the data here in a second. Okay. This looks like it's pretty close to. Says 61%, but the next two steps are the fastest steps. So the first thing that we need to do is to take the data that after I sorted the pictures, we need to take the GPS data and get it into a format that Pix4D likes. And really it's just a comma delimited text file. Okay? All right. So you don't necessarily have to follow along because I'm going to do this on here, but if you want I did upload the GPS data to the course website. So I'll put a link to all the individual images, which is a lot of images here. So it's Bayou Pierre checkpoints .zip. So I'm going to download this, and this is a shapefile, right? Shapefile is a GIS file. Did I download it? Oh no, there it goes. So I'm going to take these. I'm going to copy these into the same directory that I've been working in, the Bayou Pierre directory. I'll just put, GeoRef. I'll call that. And paste it in there. Okay. I think that I'm pretty sure that Trimble could have exported it as a text file, but it wouldn't be in the exact format because it even requires that you don't have headers. So it's just blank. Have you done that? Imported it? Yeah. To figure it out. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to do that. It's not too bad. Okay. ArcGIS Pro is what I'm going to do. I'm going to open it in ArcGIS Pro. My neck's getting really hot. I don't want to put it over my ears because then I can't hear very well. Okay. Maybe that's better. I updated this recently. So one thing I really like about the update is that now you don't have to like create a whole, for those of you who use ArcGIS Pro, you don't have to create a whole directory structure every time you open it. If you're just going to open it for something, easy like we're going to do. So I just want to look at this on a map to show you where it is and show you what the data looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and hit add data, and you have to unzip it, which I did. I put it in C, UAV course, Bayou Pierre, GeoRef. Maybe I didn't unzip it. Did I unzip it? Just downloaded it. Oh, no, there it is. Okay. Bayou Pierre checkpoints. Okay, so there's all the checkpoints. Now, not all of these are ground control points, so we need to only get the ground control points, which means that we actually have one of those pieces of plywood at that location. The rest of these are the points that we're going to use to verify the accuracy of of the output DEM. I don't even know if some of these, I think this was one he took right by our car. And in the 250-foot mission, I don't even know if those are in the data or not, but the rest of these are all in the data. Okay. In fact, I should probably switch the base map here to show the imagery. Yeah. So, all right. Actually, I don't know if these two, both of those two will be in the data or not, but I think that one will. And he was mostly curious because it's not gonna be a very high accuracy in the trees. The drone doesn't see beneath the trees, but the rest of these will be pretty good. All right. So the first thing that we need to do is to turn these points into a XYZ shapefile. I mean, sorry, text file, and they need to be in the same projection as the output projection for the data. Okay. So I don't know if you remember when last week we set up a project and we ran it. We could specify the output coordinate system right there, right, and it defaults to UTM. So I want to see what we did. Where is that? So defaults to UTM, but the problem is this is like we're already really close to UTM boundary, and so I forgot which UTM coordinate system. Don't worry about it though. So we'll open up another instance of Pix4D Mapper. You can only log in to 2 machines with my license, but so only 2 people at a time can be working on it. But you can work on any machine multiple times, I guess is what I should say. Okay, so this is what I did. New project. I'm just going to put in junk and add images, and I'm going to add in all of the 250-foot. Well, not all of them, but a bunch of them. So this is the process that I did this morning when I started it. And right now I'm just trying to figure out what coordinate system is this data in. Is this data going to output in? Because I didn't see it in the option. Okay. It probably is, but there it is. UTM 15 North. Good job. Where was it? Right here. Thank you. Okay. All right, it was already there. All right. So, good. So in ArcGIS Pro, did that crash? No, it's right there. Okay. In ArcGIS Pro, we need to use it to reproject. No, that's not the right thing. Is it? Yeah, I don't know why that's not good. So we need to reproject this data into UTM UTM 15, right? 15 North? Yeah, UTM 15 North. So that's an easy thing for ArcGIS to do. You could also export it right from the processing software. Now, the processing software we were using requires a PRJ file from ESRI in it. So, and I was just trying to get through it quickly with Frank, so I didn't do that this morning. So that's why we have to export it from here. Okay. All right, so I go to analysis, tools. I don't know if this is just because I had it open the first time. Come on. Okay. Tools. And then we're going to type in project. Project is a ArcGIS tool for modifying the projection of a data set. Now, in order to do this, your data actually has to have a projection that it's already in. It has to know what projection it's in. So some GPS software is only going to output the coordinates, and it's not going to know by default what projection it's in. And so sometimes you'll have to run the define projection tool to tell it what projection it's in, which requires that you know what projection it's in. Okay. So almost all GPSs are set up to either export in the proper UTM coordinates, or they're set up to output in WGS84 unprojected, which is what this one did. Okay. So I'm going to input my by-view period checkpoints, and I'm going to make the output be this. It's limited on the size because it's a shapefile, but actually I'm going to write in UTM. And then I have to choose the right coordinate system. Yeah, it doesn't say. Okay. So I just go to projected coordinate systems, UTM, WGS84, Northern Hemisphere, that's what the N stands for, and then 15 north. So, and because we're using the same datum is like the reference for the shape of the Earth. Because WGS is the datum, WGS84. Because we're using the same datum, we don't have to put a geographic transform. And ideally, that's what you should do. Okay, you don't want to throw that additional variable in there of a datum shift. So I'm going to leave that the way it is and hit run. And so now we have our checkpoints in UTM. All right. Anybody know what a shapefile is? Is it a single file? No, it's not a single file. It actually consists of the attribute information. And minimally, it contains the attribute information, the coordinate information, and an index that connects the two. Okay. So the attribute information is stored in a file called a .dbf, a D-base file. So here's the attribute information, and if we look, we can see that this is all the information that it recorded as it was recording each of these points. So we can see the GPS time, and this is the GPS height. That's what we need. We need the height in order to do the georeferencing. So that's the elevation of the GPS receiver. Okay. We actually put in how tall the GPS was. So when I say it's the elevation of the GPS receiver, it's the elevation at the ground at that position, because it subtracted that information off. And when we do the GPS demo, I can show you how to set the receiver, the GPS height. Okay, so this is the latitude and the longitude coordinate and the height. So we need those three fields, height, and we need the X and the Y. The problem is this coordinate is still in the other coordinate, right? So we need to get the UTM coordinate out. If you've taken a GIS class, this is fairly trivial, but we're going to add a field, and I'm going to call one of the fields X and make it a double. And then I'm going to add another field. Do I have to go back to that little thing? Guess I gotta hit save. And then go back here, add another field, and call it Y, and make it a double. Just gotta double click there, and then save that. Okay, so now I have two empty fields that have an X and a Y coordinate. So I can go ahead and calculate the geometry, and I want to get the x coordinate for that, and for the y, I want to get the y coordinate. And just for fun, well, maybe I should have, just want to make sure it's consistent that it actually got the bottom of that pole. So I want to look at the two. I want to compare them. Save. So I'm gonna also do the z. Whoops. Let's try it again. Okay. Calculate geometry. X is going to be the x coordinate. Y is going to be the y coordinate, and then z is going to be the z coordinate. All right. So alternatively, you could change the coordinate system right here, which I guess we could have done instead of shifting the coordinates of all the points. But it's the same math, and this way we have an actual UTM coordinate. Okay. So one thing I want to do is verify 50.5146, 50.51. Yeah, it's just rounded. See that? Okay. So should we use? This one's already out to millimeters, so it's fine. The precision of our GPS is not high enough that it matters if we use this field. Okay, so these are the UTM coordinates, the x and the y UTM coordinates, and the z value. Okay, so now we have all of these, and they're actually in a DBF file. You can export a file like this. Right from here to a text file. So I could right-click on this guy and say Data Export Table, and I'm pretty sure you can specify that you want it to be a text file. But I find the easiest way to do this. I'm going to go ahead and say, well, yeah, I'll just save this. I'm going to save this into the project into the folder we've been working on. I'll call this georeferencing BP for Bayou Pierre. I find the easiest way to do it is actually just do it in Microsoft Excel. So I'm going to export this, close this, and then open up the DBF will open in Microsoft Excel. Because it's kind of persnickety about the format in Pix4D a little bit, we're just going to do it there. Hopefully this will finish in the next few minutes because we're almost to the point where we're going to start using this. Okay, did Excel open? If it doesn't, I do have a backup plan. Because I processed it already online, so we can just open that up. Okay, so here is Microsoft Excel, and I can go File, Open. And then this PC, and then navigate to where it is. So if I go to Bayou Pierre, GeoRef, oops. Oh, I have to change this to DBase files. There we go. So there it is. Bayou Pierre checkpoints.dbf. Ooh, where did I put the other one? I don't know where I saved the UTM version. That's the one we need. So I got to find out where I saved it. I thought I saved it in the same location, but I guess I didn't. So find out where it is. Oh, it's not even a shapefile. All right, is that a problem? Let's go ahead and export this as a shapefile. Then it'll be a DBF that we can get. I think the way that you do that is is put .shp, and it'll do that. Okay, let's make sure that it got there. I think you can actually open it. Oh, there's a refresh button. Okay. Just gotta figure out where to put it. Too many windows open. Oh, actually, did I hit run? By Pierre GeoRef. I did hit run. Oh, it's failing because I am trying to put it in default. So I'm trying to put a shapefile in a geodatabase. There we go. Sorry about that. So now, did I put it in there? Yep, there it is. So there's the DBF. I'm opening it up, and now I should have those fields that I added, X, Y, and Z, right? Those are the only fields I really need. So what I'm going to do is delete everything else. Right click, delete. So now I just have those three fields. And Pix4D actually doesn't even want X, Y, and Z. So I delete those as well. Okay. Then I hit File, Save As. Don't hit Save, otherwise it'll write over your DBF file, and then you won't be able to open it again. And so I'm going to hit comma separated file and rename this. I'm just going to go GPS checkpoints for Pix4D. Okay. So let's see if it saved it. So one thing that you can do to make sure that it saved it out is to open it in like Notepad or Notepad++ and see if it looks right, and it does. So we've got our X, Y, and the Z value. And what units are these all in? Yeah, they are all in meters. I checked that before, but that's something you might want to check for your particular GPS. UTM is always in meters, so that's easy. And then you want to make sure that this exported in meters. Makes sense. I mean, what's the elevation here? It's like close to 300, I think, around Hattiesburg. I don't know. Yeah. No, 300 feet. Sorry, I'm switching. About 300 feet, so about 100 meters. Now you would think, hey, I go further north, I should get lower, but that's not the case. We're going more toward the Mississippi. This is actually a tributary that flows out into the Mississippi, so it makes sense that this is a little bit lower. Okay, and for meters, I mean for feet, that would be too low, right? So that'd mean that there's only a drop from. So this goes into the Mississippi above Natchez. So there'd be only a drop of 50 feet from Natchez to the ocean. I think it's a little bit more than that. So that's meters. Okay. All right. I think we're all set then. We might leave that open because we might modify that. Nah. Okay. I guess I'm just minimizing too many windows. I do want to close this window out just to make sure. Well, no, I can leave that window open. Okay. I can close out ArcGIS Pro, though. For now. I did start recording, right? Yep. Okay. All right, well, we're not quite done on the calibration, but I think this is going to be pretty quick. But what we can do is start the process with 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 the project that I already downloaded, and then move it over to that one. So I've got this under downloads. I downloaded the Pix4D project. I guess it didn't finish. That's probably it, because that's today, right? Okay, my backup didn't work. But yeah, this should probably finish fairly quickly. One thing that I can do while that's going that might be of some interest is show one of the drone deploy yeah. Oops, that's not it. Yep. Okay. So, or sorry, one of the projects. So this is one of the things that we did in Grand Cayman. Was we collected this data. So this is a reef that we collected. This is the largest successful area that we've collected. It's almost 30 by 30 meters wide. It's kind of misshapen a little bit. It's actually like the well, here I'll show you in the quality report. Yeah. So these were the actual location that the boat. This was like as it went in, and then it went back and forth, and then it went back and forth this way. So it's roughly like 25 meters this way and 30 meters this way. Okay. So these are all the locations. And this was the first time my laptop was actually acquiring a real-time correction signal and broadcasting into the drone. That's why it was so close to the water. It didn't need to be that close though, because it could have broadcasted to the drone 25 feet behind. But anyway, it collected all of these. It was like a seawall. So that's why, usually the water was like 2 or 3 feet below, and all of a sudden a big wave came. It wasn't like I stuck it on the sand and it was like one wave that didn't make it. I have a funny story about that kind of thing, but I won't tell it. But yeah, so these are all the locations. The blue is again the computed position, and the greens are the position that came off of the real-time corrected GPS. So it's a lot closer than it was for any previous steps we've done where we tried to use the GPS that's inside the drone. It just wasn't accurate enough. So yeah, it's not still not nearly as accurate as using ground control points. So I believe that's the next step. Okay, but it was 4,000 images. This took 24 hours just to produce this. This is the step one part, the part that we're doing. It took 24 hours to calculate, almost 4,000 images. I think we're going to have to study this a little bit further, but I think this problem right here has a lot to do with it being underwater. So maybe there's more distortion that occurs there. Anyway, that's what we were working on last week when that broke. Okay. Why don't we take like a 10-minute break, and what I'll do is I'll download the version that was running, and so if this is done in 10 minutes, we'll just switch to this. If it doesn't, then I'll download the version where I already ran through all 3 processes. I didn't actually do the ground control yet though, so you can run all 3 of these before you do the ground control, but there's really no point in running these 2 because it's going to rerun those 2 after you do the ground control. So this is the only part that it doesn't need to do before you do the ground control. And what running this first does is that when you pull in the ground control points, it will show them in their proper location, and you'll be able to quickly point to the images that have the particular object. You won't have to remember, oh, that was the third point or that was the fourth point. So why don't we do that? Actually, now that I think about it, I made a mistake, right? There's 68 of these points. We actually only need the points that we only have to import the points, or we only should import the points that we're going to use to ground control. So that's just these. So there's 12 of them. So I need to, well, they're already sorted, so I can just take this file. I'll do that after we get back from the break. So, do you think I should end the call right now and restart another one? So I'm going to stop recording.